So good afternoon, good morning to some of you on the West Coast, Hawaii, Alaska, and welcome to each and every one to today's special webinar, Building a Parent Nation. NHSA, we're very pleased to host this virtual event for our Head Start community. My name is Yasmina Vinci. I'm the Executive Director of NHSA, and I'm just delighted to be here with you. Today's really a happy day for me, and this webinar has so much to do with it. Today's presentation and conversation will introduce our Head Start colleagues to a bold and audacious vision that could very well make possible what so many of us have been working so hard to promote for so long, since Head Start's inception, that all parents and caregivers succeed in their most important job as first teacher, brain builder, advocate, and coach. And as an organization that works to ensure that parents have access to high quality early childhood education for their children, and that Head Start providers are supported, nothing could be more important. We know that children succeed only when parents and caregivers succeed. We understand the science of early brain development and early literacy, and how we must have the knowledge and tools to be our children's brain architects, so that our children have the best start in life and are on the trajectory of good health and early school success. In this work, we have also experienced that parents are really working so hard to do right by their kids, but often roadblock after roadblock gets in the way. Whether it's issues of poverty or lack of support that are so essential to have in order to prepare for the next generation, what's clear is that we live in a society that makes it almost impossible for us to give our children what they need to thrive, to be healthy, and to succeed in life. And so as we have been working upstream to push for changes in our communities across the nation, a very special colleague has been developing a plan that will help change that reality. And this is why we are so excited about this convening. Today, I will have the opportunity to hear from my amazing colleague, Dr. Dana Suskind, and Dana prefers that we call her that, will share her journey as a surgeon and her powerful experiences with her patients, which led her to write her new book, Parent Nation, Unlocking Every Child's Potential, Fulfilling Society's Promise, urging us to fight for a society that better supports parents and caregivers. And just for those of you who remember seeing our Head Start Advantage documentary, you may remember Dana's great testimony on the impact of Head Start in the documentary. Dana and her national campaign director, Yoli Flores, who is another valued friend, will share their vision and the launch of the Building a Parent Nation campaign, inviting us all to join and lock arms to push for a society that is aligned to neuroscience and that will put children and families at the center. After Dana's presentation, Yoli will share details about the Building a Parent Nation campaign, and then following Yoli, we will have a 20-minute panel discussion with NHSA leaders and Dana and Yoli. We will then have 10 minutes for Q&A at the end, so I encourage you to enter your questions in the chat box as you listen to the discussion. And also, as a reminder, if you haven't yet filled out the form to receive your free copy of Parent Nation, we encourage you to do so. And the link to this form will be shared throughout this webinar. So with that, I'll first introduce all of our speakers at once and then invite Dana to kick off with her remarks. So Dana Suskind, Dr. Dana Suskind is co-director of the TMW Center for Early Learning and Public Health at the University of Chicago, professor of surgery and pediatrics and director of the Pediatric Cochlear Implant Program. Her clinical work focuses on pediatric cochlear implantation, and her research focuses on optimizing children's foundational brain development and preventing early cognitive disparities and their lifelong impact. She's the author of the book 30 Million Words, Building a Child's Brain, and of a forthcoming book, Parent Nation, which empowers parents to use developmental neuroscience to build a society that works for families, not against them. Yoli Flores is National Campaign Director for Parent Nation, where she's leading strategic efforts to activate parents and allies in building a parent nation. Previously at the Campaign for Grade Level Reading, she led efforts to support over 300 campaign communities to ensure early school success for more children by elevating parent success. As a leader in Los Angeles, she was vice president of the Board of Education and CEO of the LA County Children's Planning Council, the nation's largest children's collaborative focused on improving outcomes for children. Yoli's 30-year career advancing the well-being of children and families has earned her the distinction of twice being named Social Worker of the Year. Then we will have Jenny Oatman, who is a member of the Nez Perce tribe and the director of the Children's Place of Learning Head Start for the Nez Perce tribe, located in north central Idaho. Jenny has over 20 years experience with the Nez Perce tribe in the Head Start, Early Head Start field as a Head Start parent, policy council member, an employee, program director, and tribal council member. She certainly understands that one size fits all does not work with American Indian, Alaska Native Head Start programs. Jenny is a very valued member of the NHSA Board of Directors. Dr. Jessica Spradley, she's the president and co-founder of Care-Based Leadership. This is a diversity and inclusion firm that helps companies boost retention, increase productivity, and grow revenue. Dr. Spradley serves as a board member for the Three Rivers Community Foundation, the Pennsylvania Head Start Association, the Region 3 Head Start Association, and the National Head Start Association, among others. Dr. Spradley and her husband, Paul, are the proud parents of Hannah Grace and Nia Hope. Dr. Spradley and both of her daughters are proud Head Start graduates. Next, we have Kyle Hubert. Kyle Hubert has been a part of the Head Start family for close to 7.5 years while serving on local parent policy council, state, regional, and national boards, and other early education focused boards. He studies at the University of Illinois and is also a parent representative to NHSA's board of directors. His favorite role, though, in his words, is that he's daddy to the wonderful Brendan Colt, who has been his best friend and reason for success. And then Rosalba Barragan. Rosalba Barragan is the vice chairwoman of NHSA's board of directors. She has served on the NHSA board for over 4 years. She represents her Head Start program of Neighborhood House Association in San Diego, California. And she has been actively involved in her local parent policy council and has served in numerous ambassador advocacy roles in her program, in her state, and nationally. So with this really amazing group, we'll get going. So Dana, welcome. We're delighted to have you and are eager to have you share with our colleagues about your book, Parent Nation, and the movement that you hope it will inspire.
First, thank you so incredibly, so much, Yasmina. We have been friends and known each other for such a long time, and that warm introduction was just very heartening. Because the truth is that everything that I'm going to talk about today, this is what Head Start and Early Head Start has been pushing forward for the last, since I was a baby. So I want to be clear that what we need to do is make sure that the rest of the nation follows suit. This is what you all do. This is your bread and butter. So to be here with so many leaders and advocates who are dedicated to making a difference for parents and children, as we talk together about how to not just build a parent nation, but get everyone on board, I'm just incredibly thankful. You know, I only wish that we could be together in person, but not too far away. But even remotely, I think the ability to talk about the role that we can all play in helping move our country in the right direction is invaluable. Before I dive in, again, I want to thank Yasmina. Thank you for your longstanding friendship and support and leadership of the National Head Start Association, and the amazing panelists that I am humbled to be on the stage with, Rosalba Barragan, Kyle Hubert, Jenny Oatman, Jessica Spradley. I look forward to this panel and getting to know you more after this. And most of all, I'm just thankful for the thousands of Head Start providers, early childhood educators, all of you who are on the call today. You all have gone above and beyond supporting families during this unprecedented time. I am thankful and honored. So with that, I wanted to share a little bit about myself in this journey, because I think it can really make sense as to why I am here. Because as this picture shows, my usual habitat is not on Zoom, and probably not for you all either. Believe it or not, I feel most comfortable in the operating room or in clinics with patients. Because I'm a physician. My day job is actually a pediatric physician and a cochlear implant surgeon. I specialize in giving children born deaf cochlear implants. And like many of you all, I became an ENT and cochlear implant surgeon because of my fascination for the brain, my belief in the power of giving every child a chance. But what's interesting, as a hearing loss specialist, people often think about hearing as the ears, but of course it's about the brain. And that became very clear early in my practice when I started seeing dramatic difference in outcomes amongst my patients. For me, I found that the ability to hear didn't always unlock children's full potential and capacity to learn and thrive intellectually. It was a very painful difference to see, and compelled to really understand why this was, and importantly, what I could do about it. I began this long, crazy but amazing journey far outside the operating room into the world of social sciences. And that's why I'm so lucky and thankful to be here talking to you today. And I discovered what most of you all already know, or all of you know, a rich body of research that reveals the importance of the early language environment. The science that shows that language input, the nurturing back and forth conversation with a parent, stimulates every part of an infant and a young child's brain and really shapes their lifelong capacity for learning. It is an evolutionary gift. It's a short window of time that we set up children for success in life by nurturing their foundational brain development. And that idea guides most of my work today, as I know it guides you all. So for me in 2010, as I was embarking on this journey, I launched what was previously called the 30 Million Words Initiative, but now it's called the TMW Center for Early Learning in Public Health. My primary goal was to help ensure the healthy development of all children and to give every child the ability to reach his or her potential. Brain science pointed the way. Everything that we did and designed was based on the fact that nurturing talk and interaction between parent and caregiver laid the foundation for brain development. It is and always has been about the power of parents, something that I know you all believe in deeply as well. So what did we do? My team and I developed evidence-based programs and strategies to help show parents the impacts of talking and interacting with their babies and young children. Those strategies became the theme of TMW. Tune in, talk more, take turns, or what we call the 3 T's. That was the key. And the idea, which was a straightforward approach to what we know is a very complex problem, was intuitively appealing and a great success. I think that many hoped that it would be a silver bullet. But we know in life, there are no silver bullets. With that, I was still very proud and still am very proud of the 3 T's and the families that we worked with through the TMW Center in my first book, 30 Million Words, Building a Child's Brain. We conducted numerous rigorous studies of our programs. We found that indeed our strategies worked and the science that supports them is solid. The programs we promote can and often do improve the lives of children. But I'll tell you, as our research programs took us into more and more families' homes and into their lives, I realized just how much was being asked of parents. We were getting to know parents up close and over time. And they embraced the 3 T's with gusto. They wanted what every parent wants, to help their children get off to the best possible start. The problem was, as Yasmina mentioned, the 3 T's only took parents so far. Real life would intrude again and again and again. There was Randy, who was amazing. He loved the fact that talking about baseball could help his son learn math, but had to work 2 jobs and most days had less than 30 minutes with his kids. There was Sabrina, who gave up a well-paying job to care for her husband when he got sick, and whose family ended up spending over 2 years in a homeless shelter, where she raised 2 children, the youngest still a baby, in a stressful and a chaotic environment. Most searing of all was Michael and Kiana, whose life was absolutely upended when he was arrested for a crime that he did not commit and sat in jail. Wait for this. He sat in jail waiting 5 years, awaiting a trial that exonerated him after a day and a half. These families helped me recognize the enormous hurdles looming in front of mothers and fathers. I realized with both sadness and resolve that our programs can share with parents the knowledge and powerful skills that build their children's brains. But our programs do not substantially change the day-to-day lives of parents who participate. The larger reality of a family's circumstance, the work constraints, economic stressors, bad luck, or injustices they are subject to, all matter as much as the 3 T's for healthy brain development. Look, they either allow for the brain building power of talk and interaction to occur, or they stifle it like a weed, choking off the growth of a garden. Reflecting on what I was seeing, I began to look beyond my patients and the predominantly low-income families who were participating in the TMW Center program to the entirety of the tens of millions of parents in the United States who have young children. And I saw, regardless of income level, far too many parents are being sidelined to some degree by our family unfriendly policies. Look, this is not to minimize the Herculean struggles of poor families or to suggest that more affluent families face equivalent challenges. Let me be clear, there is no equivalency. But nevertheless, it remains true that American society has abdicated its responsibility for all families. So when we talk about parents, it's the families certainly that we work with in Head Start, but it's us too. American society has sidelined all of us. The reality, of course, became painfully apparent as COVID-19 left families reeling. Many families lost their jobs, even those who didn't. Millions, mostly mothers, ended up quitting or cutting back on work hours. We call it the Great Resignation. And this month's job report only highlighted how disproportionately women are being affected. Doing it all was absolutely unsustainable, but months of trying resulted in high levels of emotional distress for both parents and their children. The pandemic was like a powerful earthquake with lingering aftershocks that showed us just how shaky our nation's infrastructure of supports for parents and therefore children really was and still is. But we already knew this. The bottom line is, we've made it difficult for all parents to raise children in our country, and almost impossible for some. I don't have to point any further than the fact that we are, as you probably know, the only OECD country which mandates paid parental leave. We are the only one that does not mandate paid parental leave. How is this? That is the simplest of things that we can do to support children and families. We spend hardly anything on early child care and education. You can see on this chart that you've probably seen at the very top, of course, we don't need to be Norway spending $29,000 per year per child, or even the average of $14,000. But we spend a measly $500 per child in this country. And that has left us with a fragmented early child care system, which has more desert than it has flourishing. In many cases, the cost of childcare is more than college tuition or mortgage. It is obscene. So given all of this, it's not exactly surprising that the US differs from other countries on another important metric. I bet you don't think about this much, but parental happiness. In most developed nations, parents are less happy than non-parents. It's hard to raise a child, but I want you to look at the very bottom of this graph. The greatest difference in happiness between parents and non-parents is right at the bottom, the US once again. Put it simply, parents in this country lack support, they lack choices. And so as I reflected on all of this, I began writing a new book. I knew that the world didn't need another how-to book about what parents can do. There are many amazing books out there, though I have to tell you, my publisher would have loved it because people eat it up. But I said, instead, I thought perhaps a book that shows us how everything that you know, that the brain science can actually not just inform what we do at the individual level, but it can inform us on what we need to do at a societal level so that we have a society that works for parents, not against them, and that could help shift the narrative and the burdens that so many parents carry. I named this book Parent Nation, and I cannot wait for you to read it. And thanks to an amazing gift from Hearing First, an educational endeavor by the Obercarter Foundation, everyone here is eligible to receive a free copy when it comes out. So I expect each and every one of you to read it, you and my mother. But I'd like to mention something. People say, well, why did you call it Parent Nation? I did this for one simple reason. When I say parent, I don't just mean biologic parents. I mean aunt, uncles, grandparents, you know, anyone really who loves a child and cares for a child, that's a parent. And I have to tell you, when I was writing this, I spoke to dozens of parents from all walks of life. And in truth, I was struck time and time again about how much they shared in common. It is amazing how the love for our children and the desire to give them everything that is rightfully theirs is an opportunity to bring us together so that we can have a nation that really supports all children and families. The truth is, there are many ways to parent a child, but there's only one way to nurture that child's brain, and that's through nurturing interaction and protection from toxic stress. We know this to be true, but in this country, there is an alarming disconnect between what we know children need in the early years and what we do as a society to meet those needs. Or more accurately, to allow parents and caregivers to meet those needs. At the very moment in time when parents and children could use the most help, and when that help would have an outsized influence by strengthening neural connections, society does nothing, or worse, makes it harder on parents. You know, we could go into how did we get to this place, and I could talk hours on this. How did we get to this place where so many parents are struggling and unhappy and lacking systemic support? Look, the explanation is complex, but one consistent theme runs throughout the choices we've made as a society. This mythic idea of American individualism, the notion that Americans have to be tough and independent, prevails, and it perpetuates this going it alone as a virtuous ideal, even when it comes to raising our children. It's convinced parents that they should be able to shoulder the enormous burdens on their own without formal support. This is not to say, this is about supporting parents. This is not about us taking the role of parents. It's about supporting parents. The bottom line is we have no expectation that society should play a role in helping us, support us in our important role as parents. Indeed, expecting societal help is often seen as a form of weakness. So we suffer alone, but we suffer collectively as well. When the ultimate intellectual development of a child is hampered, we are all hampered. We all lose. So where do we go from here? I am a surgeon, and like you all, I want to see change. It's easy to point out the problems, and there are so many, but there is a way forward. And believe it or not, don't laugh, but I think neuroscience gives us a roadmap, just as what it tells us how to prioritize things at the individual level. It can help us understand where to go societally as well. It lays out those coordinates that will lead us to healthier brain development and happier parents for all children. It should be our constant guide. And what is the first and most important thing? You know this. It's that we need to begin when learning begins, not on the first day of school, but on the first day of life. It tells us that children's earliest and most impactful brain architects are parents and caregivers, are you all. And it tells us that environment matters. Stable, calm environments foster socio-emotional skills and executive function, whereas disruptive environments impede their development. In short, developing children need time, enrichment, and protection. And guess what? Parents and caregivers need that same thing. Just as children need time with a responsive caregiver, parents need time that allows them to be a responsive caregiver. They need paid leave and sick leave. They need predictable work hours that don't pull them away unexpectedly. Children need enrichment in the form of nurturing talk and interaction. And guess what? Parents need that same enrichment in the form of support, education, high quality childcare options, living wages. And just as children need protection from toxic stress that can impede their healthy development, parents need protection from societal forces that impede them to parent optimally. So if neuroscience is our roadmap, it's parents who do the steering. Parents are the captains of their family ship, manning the helm. And every captain needs a crew to ensure a safe voyage. Just like I, as a surgeon, need when I walk into the operating room, not to be by myself, but I am surrounded by a team that's supporting me. I am the only one who's holding that scalpel. Parents are the only ones who are raising their children, but I have a whole lot of support to make sure that I can focus on what I need to focus. A parent's crew is absolutely necessary, and it includes employers, healthcare providers, schools, communities, and policymakers. Because if the consequences of our broken system are shared collectively, the solution should be as well. So just as laying the foundation for healthy brain development means connecting all parts of our brain, laying the foundation of a parent nation means connecting all parts of society that rarely intersect. For those of us who are already fighting for children and parents and families, meaning you, across the country, to the healthcare system, private industry, federal, state, and local government, we all need to play a role. All of this is in the book, of course, and I can't assume too many people will read it, although I expect you to read it and you to tell all your friends to read it. But let's face it, that is why we're launching this campaign alongside the book, to help spread the ideas far and wide and help bring them to life. And that's why I'm so incredibly honored and thrilled that Head Start, that we're coming together. With your deep commitment to parents, no one is better suited to help build this and spread the message for a society that truly places parents at the center. You are a model. My incredible colleague, Yoli Flores, who is blow away, is now going to share more about the ways that you can get involved in building this campaign to build a parent nation. From engaging on social media to our free resources, we just want to partner. There are many ways you can join us in the 3 Fs: fostering community, forging collective identity, and fighting for change. Because even though everybody loves the 3 Ts, and the 3 Ts are really powerful, you can even use it with your partner or your teenager, but the 3 Ts are powerful for building a child's brain. But it's those 3 Fs that are going to change this country so that we can do what we do best. I'm so thankful for all of the partners that are coming on board, and I want to say thank you. So tweet out, let's build a parent nation. And at this point, I want to turn it over to my amazing colleague, Yoli Flores.
Welcome, Yoli. Let's hear about the campaign.
Thank you, Yasmina. I am so excited to be with you today. You, Yasmina, know what a fan I am of your leadership, of your team, of Head Start and the work that the Head Start providers across this country, the just amazing work they do every day to support our children and families. So thank you. I'm so happy to be with all of you today to give you a bit of an overview about the Building a Parent Nation campaign, which we hope you will all join. So let me just start with giving you a quick overview of the three parts of the campaign on the next slide. So of course, there's the traditional book publicity, and the book, somebody asked in the chat when the book would come out. The book comes out on April 26th in that week. So you'll see hopefully some buzz around the book. So that's the first part of the campaign. The second part of the campaign is our digital impact effort, so that we can reach a broader audience around the country. You'll hear the messages, it takes a nation, because it takes a nation to center children and families. You'll have the opportunity to visit our website and all the messaging through social media. And then the third part of our campaign strategy is the on-the-ground activation effort. And on-the-ground activation effort is really what I'm going to spend most of my time talking about today. You heard Dana talk about the 3 F's. So that's what we're centering everything that we're doing. If you go to the next slide, just to recap, our goal with the on-the-ground activation effort is to do those 3 things: to foster community, to forge collective identity, and of course, to fight for change. I'll quickly highlight our 4 strategies that get us to these 3 goals. And then what I want to do is go a little bit deeper on the strategies that we hope will galvanize parents and caregivers and allies who really care about the well-being of families and the success of children. So 3 parts to the activation effort. The first is in the back of the book, and online you'll see our action guide. So if you read the book or you hear the messages and you're the kind of person to say, I want to get involved, what can I do? There's a list of opportunities of ways that you can be part of this mobilization effort. There is also a book discussion guide. So we'd love to see book clubs and book circles around the country talking about Parent Nation and really engaging in the stories that are in the book and the ideas, and most importantly, this bold, audacious vision, to use your words, Yasmina, that will come from the book. You'll see some engagement across social media with parent groups talking about Parent Nation. And then you'll hear, and this is where I'm going to spend a little bit more of my time right now, you'll hear about the Parent Village curriculum, which is an effort to really bring the tools and resources to parents on the ground. So let's talk about that a little bit if you go to the next slide on parent villages. So very quickly, the Parent Nation curriculum will champion parents as their children's primary brain architect, first teacher, advocate, coach, all the things you heard Dana talk about. And through this 4-session curriculum, what we will help parents embrace that they should not have to go at this alone, and instead begin to elevate their own expectations of society and how society can and must fulfill its promise. The framework that we use builds on the framework of the book, one which uses the brain science to promote change, but it's very flexible and it's not prescriptive. In other words, we're not telling parents what to advocate for. The curriculum seeks to help parents identify the gaps that they want to see filled in an inadequate support system, and hopefully inspire them to amplify their voices and to take action. The curriculum is in English and Spanish. We've developed it so that you could offer it in person, or because we're still living in the world of COVID. And even if we weren't, we know for some families coming together remotely is sometimes more convenient. So you can do this in person or remotely, and it comes along with a toolkit, all of which is downloadable at no cost from the Parent Nation website, which will be up in early April. I mentioned flexibility earlier. This also means that you can take any of the sessions that are part of the curriculum and integrate them into any existing parent leadership or parent engagement curriculum that some of you may already have, or some of our partners already have, or you could offer it fully as a standalone or supplemental parent leadership program. And then if you want to add your logo, you could do that, add it to the TMW Center Parent Nation so that folks who see it know where it's coming from. It's coming from a trusted source. By the way, the curriculum has been informed by parents from the very beginning. We're just now in the final development and are just finishing up our beta testing of the curriculum with parents around the country. So the question that most people ask at this point is, well, what's in the curriculum? So let me tell you very quickly. I'm going to have you skip the next slide because I've already talked about that, and just get to session 1. So there you go. So as I mentioned, there are 4 sessions in this curriculum, 90 minutes each, and again, English and Spanish. And this is small groups of parents coming together really to engage in, first and foremost, support with and from each other, but also to begin to think about the kind of nation they want for their children, the society we need, the parent nation we want, and how we're going to get there. So in session 1, parents begin to get introduced to the idea of this bold, audacious vision of a parent nation and their village, their group, as a support network where they can learn from each other. They'll also begin to let go of the pressures to be the perfect parent and embrace 5 powerful principles that honor all parents. You'll see the cards at the bottom of this slide, and this is an example of the way in which discussion happens. It's through these cards. They've got prompts, they've got questions, and it makes it very interactive. All right, let's go to session 2. I'm going fast just in the interest of time. So in session 2, here parents are beginning to forge this idea of collective identity that Dana talked about, and importantly, to begin to elevate their own expectations of society. And one of the ways that they'll begin to do that is through this activity. You see the scales on the slide. They'll have an opportunity to identify their high priority needs as they're raising their children. And in the lived reality side of on that left-hand side of the slide, that first poster, they'll put what side of the scale they currently get their needs met. They're either getting those needs met because they've got to figure it out individually with a family member, with a friend paying for it, or say childcare or early learning, it was a high priority and they have Head Start, they would put their little sticky note on the right-hand side of that lived reality scale because Head Start is a federal program. So it's an institution, it's society that is supporting them. So this group of parents has all their Post-its, all their sticky notes on that scale, and then they do the same thing again in what would be their ideal society. And that begins to help parents see that this is why they are so overwhelmed, why they're so unhappy, why everything is such a struggle, because it's all on them and if things are off balance. It's this incredible aha moment that parents are experiencing, and the testing that we've been doing has really played that out quite well. In fact, if you go to the next slide, you'll see this was a group of parents at the Parents as Teachers Conference in Baltimore. We were testing all of the activities and all of the exercises, and you'll see the shift that parents start to make. And what is more powerful than just the visual is the conversation taking place. And what parents are saying is they need time with their children. They need to have that talk and interaction moment. They need to be less stressed. They need to feel secure about their economic situation. And all of that, society has to play a role so that they can do their best work as parents. So this is session 2. Let's go to session 3. In session 3, parents here are beginning to explore various roles that you can make in a social change effort. So we're taking them through what the social change literature identifies as change maker roles. And they begin to identify their own strengths, their talents, their gifts, so that they can see that they can bring whatever they are inspired by, whatever they enjoy, and contribute that to a social change effort, like fighting for a parent nation. They do that through this card game that you see here, and then they actually get to go on a speed dating game so that they're learning from each other the roles they picked and why, and they begin to appreciate that we all have gifts, some different, some the same, but we all can all make a contribution to making change. And then the last and final session is where it all comes together. We start session 4 by playing the bingo game, and you see that bingo board, the Building a Parent Nation bingo board on the very left. And here they're learning about historical efforts, about key concepts like toxic stress, for example. They're learning about organizations across the country that have for many years been working to support families. And yes, NHSA has a place on our bingo board. And they're really learning about everything that's out there so they're not feeling alone, but also why we need to amplify our efforts, move out of our silos, and come together to achieve the parent nation that we want. In the last segment of session 4, they begin to develop their village action plan and begin to identify, based on all the conversation they've had, the needs they've identified, what are they willing to fight for? Why does this matter? Who are they fighting for? Who can help us? And how we will all make change together. It's the beginning of the process for that village, that group of parents, to take the next step toward a parent nation. The very last few minutes of session 4, which is where it all ends, the parents identify on the back of this card that says Parent Nation Pledge what their ideal parent nation would be. And on this side, they write their name and what they're willing to do to fight for that parent nation. Okay, I went really fast through these 4 sessions. There's a lot more, but if you just go through the rest of the slides, I can just quickly wrap it up. These are the all the different parent groups that have been beta testing the curriculum. We want to make sure we're hearing from all kinds of families. There's an Only Fathers group. There's a group out of Arizona, a national group. There's a group of friends on the bottom right-hand corner that brought people together. So they're all testing and giving us feedback. And we've got one more session. This was the beta test that I talked about earlier in Baltimore at the Parents as Teachers Conference. So what can you do now? Maybe we'll save this to the very end, but there is a call to action. I want you to know April is still a few months away, but there are 5 things you can do. You can claim your Parent Nation book. You can start talking to your friends about the campaign, sign up for the newsletter, sign up to host a parent village, and then of course, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll be sure to put that in the chat. Okay, Yasmina, I went real fast because I really am interested in the conversation with the panel, but I'm happy to answer any questions when we get there.
Thank you. So Jenny, Jessica, Kyle, everybody, let's take it with the questions first. I don't think we'll have time for more than one question, but let's try. So the most important question germane to this is, as parents yourselves, what kind of support did you have, or do you wish you had during those early years? You're certainly the the right people to talk about this. So who wants to start?
Yasmina, I'll start.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Jenny Oatman. I'm with the Nez Perce Tribe. We're located in Idaho. I'm the director of a Head Start, Early Head Start childcare program. And in regards to the question, I would say that Growing up on the Nez Perce Reservation, I was very fortunate to have the help of extended family. This included caring for my child while I worked or attended school, through to disciplining. So every family member has a role where you're the grandparents, the aunties, the uncles, all had a role in helping to raise my son and my daughter. And I think I wouldn't have been able to do that without them. The kind of support that I wished I had was opportunities for my child to learn the Nez Perce language. Coming from a tribe that it's kind of lost and we're trying to get it back, I would have really liked that, because it's something that has to be spoken every day. And then regarding support on how to advocate for my child and support to become, self-sufficient in enrolling in school, finding employment, referrals to other programs, resources, what have you, that actually Head Start kind of does already. So I would just like to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Jessica?
Yeah, I can share next. So my name's Dr. Jessica Spradley. Hey, everyone. I like seeing everybody's cities in the chat. That was amazing. So when I think about my early years as a parent, we moved to Pennsylvania when my daughter was only 3 months old. I didn't have any family here. I had a set of in-laws, but one of the things that when we got involved in early Head Start, there were some moms that were just nice to me. Like, it was my first kid and I was really nervous about being a parent. Like, am I doing something wrong? Am I using the wrong soap? Oh my goodness, she has a rash. Is it my fault? And so I think that the first thing that I needed, that I received, was community, right? Like, because I was by myself. And then I think that the things that I wish I had as a parent was an understanding of the things that people don't talk about. So postpartum depression, anxiety, things like that. Additionally, I really, really wish that there was a way to focus on our kids' literacy at the early ages. Like, I like the, making sure that we're reading to them and doing all the words, but having other people feed into our kids too. And so building that network, that's why I'm really excited about Parent Nation, because I feel like it's going to do the things that I wanted to have.
Great, thank you. Rosalba or Kyle?
I'll go next. One of the things that I at Neighborhood House Association was a warm line, where parents can call for anything that they really need at short notice, whether it's diapers for our early Head Start families, food, many that are experiencing food insecurity, or just someone to talk to because they're feeling stressed or alone. Especially right now during the time of COVID, we have so many families who experience who need social support. As parents, we have a hard time letting go of control because we are strong for our families, we're strong for our children. And sometimes we feel like we're not allowed to ask for help from our fellow colleagues or parents because, a lot of us are experiencing some stressors in our life or some sort of trauma. So we stay strong for as long as possible, but sometimes letting go of that control and just asking for help can be a little hard. So it was really important for us to think of important ways to buffer the negative impacts of trauma. And for me, in the early years was much like Jessica, Dr. Stradley had said, is that sense of community. Knowing that I can go to our staff members at Neighborhood House Association just to talk about any needs that I may experience or stressors that I may have, and then develop a warm line for our families to call, which gave me a sense of pride, knowing that that was part of the journey of something that I needed and was able to execute and let see fly. The same thing with a parent Facebook page. So it's direct access also to resources for those who didn't know these events were available. When I didn't know they were available, now they are. We have access, for all families to approach, a little communicate to directly. That's, I think, looking back and looking now, those were kind of like the little pieces that really helped me out as a parent.
Thank you. Kyle?
Yes, thank you. So to echo what Dr. Spradley had already said, community, that is what I had gotten from Head Start from the very beginning, early Head Start, in fact. The sense of community within the locality all the way to the National Association. Such like with the people on the call right now, everybody who's participating and following along. The Head Start community, I cannot begin to say enough about, because the staff members, the directors, the parents, the children, everyone has been absolutely amazing. I don't think I've ever had a day where I went to pick my little boy up as this nervous parent who would freak out anytime he would move at night, or like as all of us said, setting aside comfort levels and knowing that there's someone else that can kind of pick up where you're leaving off, so to speak. I think that these are all vastly important resources that Head Start brings to the table that not a lot of other programs have been doing right now. And that's why I think that this work is so important, because the voice and the resources that Head Start was able to provide for me, and what I think the majority of parents would love to see, is provided from day one in early Head Start. And that, more than anything, I can say I'm very thankful for.
Great, thank you. I think there was a question there also in the chat for Yoli, just asking how long will this process take for the families to form the parent villages and to get to action? Do you have any sense of that?
So there are 4 sessions. They're each 90 minutes in length. Some groups that have been testing have wanted to extend that to 2 hours, just to do more icebreakers and more conversation. So it's a 4-week, it's 4 sessions, 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the group that wants to host. And the curriculum guide is scripted. So even if you've never had experience facilitating, we walk you through everything. We give you all of the materials, all of the activities. So that's more than what you asked me, but all of that support will be available and online. For the parents, I would expect that it's a total of 10 hours over 4 sessions. And what we've learned so far from each of the groups is that they want more. They end feeling very inspired and ready to come back as a village on their own.
Great, thank you. Okay, back to our questions to the panelists. So this is a very NHSA top of mind question. How can policymakers today work to better support parents? And what would be your ideal parent nation? As you know, we spend so much time advocating and talking to policymakers that really we need your voices and clarity from you.
So I'll jump in first. I think the number one thing that policymakers can do is actually listen to their constituents. And I don't mean like listen to the vote, but I mean actually talk to people. We had the opportunity at our Head Start Association Winter Leadership Institute to talk to some of our policymakers. And it's different when you hear people's story, right? It's different when you hear and you humanize what's actually happening in your communities. And then you're not, voting on if it's $500 per child, you're voting on $500 for Jessica's child or for Yasmina's child, right? And so I think that there needs to be a humanization of the people that are in the process. I think that the other thing that policymakers can do is take themselves out of their specific situation. I know a lot of our Head Start families now are socioeconomic status is the big topic on everybody's mind. We have so many families who are now, they can't afford basic things, but now they're buying masks on top of everything. And then the N95 masks are even more expensive. So I think that when our policymakers think about early childhood education, it's not just the educational piece, right? There's supplies, there's additional needs. So kind of thinking about it holistically would be the first two places I would start.
Thank you. Any other comments from?
I could take it. I think that they need to see what's working right now. If you take Head Start, for example, and all of the other parents on this call and the many who are not, we are testimony that Head Start works. It makes a difference in people's lives. It empowers parents to become advocates. I know I never thought about being an advocate before I became a parent and was introduced into Head Start. And they need to take appreciation because Head Start does work. It enforces an immense knowledge and curriculum and understanding and a passion for learning and interaction. And it cultivates phenomenal staff. I mean, like I said, throughout my entire tenure with Head Start, I have yet to meet someone who was not remarkable that worked for Head Start. These people make a difference. And they need to be able to see, like Jessica said, they need to listen to people because these people make a difference every single day. And they're making more engaged and more enlightened human beings because of it.
Great. I'm just going to actually call, I'm like one of those teachers who, even if you don't raise your hand, calls. I'm going to call on Debbie Bergeron. She had a question for me about possibly where NHSA, just the staff team is crazed about book clubs. We read books together and talk about them and so on. So Debbie just thought, hey, could we also have a book club for a larger group? And would this work? And so Debbie, you want to, if you're still on? Yes, you're on.
All right, now I can talk. Yes, that would be great. We actually just had one of our parent book club meetings today. We're reading When You Wonder You're Learning, which is a phenomenal book that is on like good parenting and good teaching on the Mr. Rogers sort of platform. And we're loving it. And we meet with parents and policy council people and family engagement people, and they're reading along with us. It's just so much fun. And I was sitting here listening to this thinking, what a great book to bring to our community and read it together. And we had one of our book club members share today that she was able to get funding from her program director to buy books for all of the policy council. And so they're doing their own book club on their own on the side. And so the idea is that you create kind of this momentum around it. So I could see something like this being a really fun thing for NHSA to do in the community.
And
How
I'll
does it sound?
join virtually. I'll come say hello virtually. Yoli and I will.
Yeah, please, we would love it. We would love it. We were talking today about the tricky part, and this is what I just said to Kyle in the chat. Like what he's talking about to me is the secret sauce of Head Start. Teaching parents how to be their child's best advocate for life. And then sometimes I think parents step into the public schools and all of that gets really, really, really hard to do. It's not different skills, it's the same skills, but it is a different environment. And so part of what I'm trying to do is figure out how we extend that outside of the Head Start classroom. And this sounds like that's exactly what you're hoping to do. I mean, that's just at first blush, I'm just so excited. I think this is fantastic.
Okay, thank you. We have 1 minute. Does anybody want to just sort of give the last impression before I thank everybody?
Can I just say one quick thing? I think as all the amazing panelists noted, this is what Head Start has been doing for the last half a century. I think this is an opportunity to use this book and this idea to let everyone else know not only what Head Start is doing, but how we can use that as a model for moving forward. So I love the idea of a book club, an internal NSA book club, but you know what? We've been talking to our own echo chamber for a long time. We know how important this is. We know the power of parents. We know the power of the early years. Let's use this. We've got to hit people over the head with it. All right, not actually, I'm not advocating for violence. I'm saying, look, let's let everybody else know in our community, in our cities, in our country. So, and thank you for everything that you do. You inspire me every day.
So,
Yasmina,
yeah,
Yasmina, this is Jenny. Can I just add just a comment?
absolutely.
In
Please do.
regard to that. Well, my ideal parent nation would be one in which the various stakeholders recognize and realize the roles they play, the responsibilities they have, and the power they have to support our youngest learners and their parents. And I'll just end with, most importantly, remember that what we do today, whatever our capacity, it's forever. What we're doing is forever. It's going to affect grandchildren I'm never going to see. So, and I think if we keep that in mind, I think it will kind of guide us in what we need to do as a community and as a Head Start community, because we all want what's best for the children in partnership with parents. So anyway, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to participate.
Thank you, Jenny. And we want it to last. We want it to last for the future generations, that change. Thank you. So thank you, Dana. Thank you, Yoli. Thank you, Rosalba, Jenny, Jessica, Kyle. I also want to thank the NHSA group that with so much enthusiasm and passion actually worked on to get the webinar together. Joelle, Emily, and Lucy. It was absolutely an exciting moment. So thank you, everybody. And let's see, let's take the book out into the broad Head Start community. Thank you.